Well, good morning. It is Trishonda. This is the first of my 4 videos to you journaling about my life, talking about who I am, where I'm from, what I've done, what it is I want out of my life. Don't really know where to start. I had to really think about this video before I even started, and just thinking of words that really sum up my life. And some of those words are journey, wearing the mask, trust, afraid, fear, just all those words, because my life has been one where I kind of stay hidden and behind everything and everybody else. Never really wanted to be up front. So when I started thinking about how I would journal these videos, I figured I might as well start from the beginning. Start about how I grew up and where I grew up and how all of that played into the woman that I am today. I grew up in a not so huge family, but it wasn't very small either. It's me, I got an older brother, younger sister, and then my mom and dad. So I always grew up in a home with my mom and dad. The one thing I remember about my childhood is going to my grandmother's house. It was that place of safety. I can remember feeling the dirt under my feet and it being so calming because she lived down a dirt path, and it being so calming and so welcoming. And I can remember also the sound of the front porch when we walked up on the porch. It was this creaking because it was a wood porch. And so when I think about things like that, I think about growing up in this environment where I had my grandmother that was this cornerstone of the family, and where she brought us all together for family gatherings and love, and we went to church together. And so I remember that. But I also remember growing up in a home where my parents fought all the time. My mom and dad both were alcoholics, and my mom still struggles with it a lot today. But I remember growing up in a home where we went to church on Sunday. We was at my grandmother's house. We were being loved on. But then we got back home, and it was the constant fighting. It was the constant, am I going to leave and go with my dad? Am I going to leave and go with my mom? So for me growing up, it was trying to understand what really love was supposed to look like and what family was supposed to look like. So I grew up middle child. So had an older brother who I felt like got away with everything, was able to do some stuff that I could do. Then I had a younger sister that was, of course, she was the baby and she acted like the baby. So I grew up trying to kind of figure out where I fit in, trying to figure out who am I in the midst of a family that loved one minute, fighting the next minute, where it felt like I was safe one minute and the next minute I wasn't. So just trying to grow up, didn't really have parents. I knew that they loved me, but to have parents that said, you are beautiful, you are fearfully and wonderfully made, you can be successful, you can have everything, you are loved. I knew they loved me, but it wasn't something that they always said. So as I grew up, the older I got, the more the family dynamic sort of changed. My grandmother, she grew older, still was heavily into the church, but my mother and father wasn't. So where I grew up, where we were steady going to church, now we was not. So of course came in, I got about 10 or 11, starting to want to party, starting to want to drink, starting to want to do different things because I found safety and what I thought was love in the streets. I found it in alcohol, I found it in cigarettes, I found it in smoking marijuana, all of that, because I really didn't know who I was. School for me was, I'm gonna be serious, school for me was a joke. I could care less about going to school. I remember I had a teacher who pulled me outside the classroom one day, and because I had been skipping school, drinking, partying, doing whatever. And I remember her pulling me out of the classroom one day and she said, "What do you want to be when you graduate from high school? What do you want to do?" And nobody had ever asked me that because, like I said, I grew up in a house where my mom and dad, I knew they loved me, but they fought. It was alcohol, it was partying, it was all of that. So she pulled me outside the classroom and she said, "What do you want to do with your life when you leave high school?" And I couldn't answer it, but I knew I loved math. I knew I loved to teach. So I said, "I want to teach. I want to teach math." And she just really began to pour into me. And that was the first time that I had somebody who told me that it was something different out here, that it was something different that I can grab hold of. And so even after that, my environment did not change. So even after that, I still was in a home with a lot of drinking, a lot of partying. My friends still stayed the same, everything. And it wasn't until probably about, I woke up probably about age 21, 22, and I was like, I got to do something different with my life. And so I decided to go back to school, and went to school for nursing. And that totally changed my mindset. I started traveling, started seeing that it was a different life out there, that I could do something different. And my environment started to change. The friends that I was hanging around, I just didn't want to hang around them no more because I wanted something different. Fast forward a few years later, I graduated. I went to school and got my nursing assistant, went back, got my license to be a licensed nurse, went back and got my degree to be a registered nurse. And I stopped holding on to the things that I went through in my childhood. I stopped holding on to that I didn't feel affirmed, and I started affirming myself. I started hanging around with different people, going different places, just really saying, "God, what is it that you want out of my life?" Just changing my perspective on everything, and where even to this day, I still may hide a little behind other things because I don't really like being out front, but I really sense that God is pushing me forward. I'm one who I would rather stay in the background. It doesn't matter to me. I'd rather stay in the background and do everything in the back. But the more that I'm walking on this journey of who it is I'm supposed to be and discovering what it is I'm supposed to be doing, the more I feel God is pushing me out front. The reason why I always tell people that I am one who loves to empower women. And the reason why is because there was a point, and there still is sometimes, a point where I feel like I need to be empowered. I know what it's like to not feel like you got somebody in your corner. I know what it's like to feel like your voice has been silenced. I know what it's like to feel like you crying tears and nobody understands. I know what it's like to be standing at a crossroads in your life and you're feeling like, do I go forward or do I go back where it's comfortable at? I know what it's like. So when women come to me and they are just trying to figure out their next step in their next journey, I always go back to their childhood because that's where it started with me. Where did I start feeling insecure? Where did I start feeling rejected? Where did I start feeling alone? Where did I start feeling where I didn't belong? And so my empowerment of other women always starts with their childhood because that's where it started at with me. So for me, this coaching and this time of learning who I am is part of my journey because I want to be able to continue to empower other women, but that's going to be me learning to empower myself and stripping down everything that I thought I knew about me, becoming naked and bare. Really, that's what it is. Me becoming naked and bare, learning how to share my story and not being ashamed of the stuff that I went through when I was a child, not being ashamed of the stuff that I even deal with now, and just really walking in this thing that God is calling me to. I know it's going to hurt. I know it's going to be painful because some stuff I'd rather just not do. Some stuff I'd rather not just talk about. But I know that I'm ready. I know that it's time. I know that I got a lot of women that's depending on me. And so that's my journey. This is video number 1. I'm probably be crying by video number 2. But I am ready for this journey. Thank you.